Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm your mayor, and it is great to be here at the Congress Heights Senior Center in beautiful Ward 8. Give yourselves a big round of applause. And I, too, want to recognize all of the senior centers across the city who are also watching and listening to this budget engagement forum. I'm very pleased that we've been joined by a number of members of our DC government team who are also here to talk about today's budget with you. I hope you recall that when I became mayor, and let me thank you for your support, your votes, your questions, your great ideas for how we move the city forward. And back then in 2015, I promised that we would have discussions like this about the budget before we finalized the budget and sent it on to the council. So you know our drill, that we start talking about the budget in the fall. We're collecting ideas from the directors and community members and our DC government staff about what we need to do more, what we need to do better, or what we might need to eliminate in order to serve our residents better. And at this time, we hear from you directly, or I hear from you directly. You've already talked to your agency staff. And then I, at the end of March, will send a balanced budget to the council. And you know how this works, just working on your own budgets at home. You have a certain amount of money coming in. You have things that you want to do, and you prioritize those things that you want to do for your household based on the money that you have coming in. And so that's what we are here to talk about today. I do want to acknowledge that you're going to hear from our city administrator who manages the day-to-day operations of city government, and that's Kevin Donahue. Thank you, Kevin Donahue. Give Kevin a big round of applause, please. As well as my budget director, who works with the agency staff 12 months of the year to make sure that the money that has been budgeted is being spent according to that budget and getting ready for the next year's budget. And that's Jenny Reed. Give her a round of applause. We're also joined by Sharon Hines, who is the director of the Office on Aging and Community Living. So I would say that she's your director, but all of the directors are your directors. But Sharon and her team are responsible for making sure that seniors in Washington, D.C. Are being best served by D.C. government to live your best lives in the best city in the world. And so that is the job of the Office on Aging and Community Living. Steve Walker is to Sharon's left, and he's my Deputy Chief of Staff. And he oversees a lot of our community serving offices. And I want to recognize Director Jackie Reyes, who is in the building behind you, she's waving. And she's responsible for our community affairs offices. And Chris Rodriguez, who is the Assistant City Administrator, is responsible for a lot of our internal services. Deputy Mayor Lindsay Apia, I see in the back, and she's responsible for public safety and justice. And Thene Freeman, our Director for DPR, and Paul Kine, our Deputy Mayor for Education. And I would also like to introduce a new director, and I'm not sure where she is, but she will be joining us on March the 11th. She has served her country more than most, as a friend of mine used to say. She's retired colonel, and she will be the next director of the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs. Thank you. And her name is Charlotte Woodard. So welcome, Director Woodard, and her mom is here as well. So let's recognize her mom. Mom is a Ward 4 senior, and welcome. And thank you for joining us. And I told Director Woodard, there's very few people in the government who've been hired on the spot, and she's one of them. So we're looking forward to you starting on March the 11th. And so I want to also kind of couch our conversation, because I'm talking to a group of people who know the best of times, the worst of times, and times in between, right? And we appreciate your commitment to Washington, D.C. through all of those times. And we have made the commitment that now that we have more prosperity in the city, we have more beautiful centers, we have more beautiful parks, our schools are achieving. We also have to double down on making sure your quality of life in the district is a good quality of life. But I also, part of the conversation I'm having with the community and with the council is that we may have less revenue coming in than we have had in the last 15 years. And largely that is driven by a post-pandemic reality of work, that fewer people are going to work in their offices, and that impacts the value of our real estate. And so if our real estate, commercial real estate, office buildings is worth less, those office building owners pay less to the government. They pay the less in taxes, and that impacts everything that we will do. So we are not exactly sure of the revenue impacts this year, but part of why I'm talking so much about big investments in the downtown is so that we can maintain a beautiful, vibrant downtown with valuable commercial real estate where people want to come to their jobs, because that impacts our ability to invest in schools and roads and senior services and the like. Another reason that we are very focused in the downtown areas is because it's also a base of our tourism. And tourism really underlies a very strong, a lot of the fundamentals in our strong economy. So with that, I'm not going to say a lot more, but I do want to end my remarks on something that I know you're focused on and we're focused on as well, and that is public safety. You've heard me talk a lot over the last couple of years about our need to rebalance our public safety ecosystem to make sure it is one that is focused on prevention and opportunity for sure, but also on accountability and making sure that people who are using guns in our city that are making our city less safe are held accountable for what they're doing. I hired Pamela Smith to be the chief of police. I appointed her to be the chief of police last year. She's working hand in hand with our officers and deploying across all of the police districts to keep us safer. We passed a piece of emergency legislation last year with the support of Brooke Pinto and the council that put some immediate interventions in place that I thought were important. The chief thought were important, our prosecutors think are important. And we're starting to see the trends on violent crime go in the right direction. So now is the time that we keep our foot on the gas, that the council pass more legislation that rebalances our public safety ecosystem. They'll be voting on a bill on Tuesday called Secure DC. So this is what we've seen since last year, year over year. So this past January compared to January of 23, violent crime is down in the city 11%. Homicides are down 30%. Assault with a dangerous weapon in our city is down 28%. So we have fewer people using guns, fewer gunshot victims. Property crime is also down 12%, and we're also starting to see movement with armed carjacking in our city. So we know if these trends hold because of the bold interventions that we put in place, we're going to have a safer city. So will you stand with me to make sure that we're getting the things done that we need to get done? All right. So I'm going to skip over a few of my remarks, but I want to end by saying with fewer resources, we have a couple of choices. We can prioritize our spending, or we can ask you for more money, or we could do both. All right. And so at this stage in the game, I have told my team, if ever we need to come to the voters and ask them for more money, so that's another way of saying raise your taxes, I'll be the one who does it. I'll ask you, I'll tell you why and what we would use it for, and I will assure you that there won't be any waste. But before we do that, I'm going to make sure that we've done everything with this budget that we can and that we're strategic in our spending. So the budget that we will craft will focus on the things that have helped us grow as a city, attract families, keep families, create more jobs, bring more visitors, create more housing, and therefore create more revenue that will allow us to invest in senior services, in schools, in parks and recreation. So the budget that we will build will focus on our amazing public school system. It will focus on public safety, and it will focus on the vitality of our downtown, which allows us to invest in all 8 wards. So with that, I want to turn to my team to talk about the basics of the budget process, and then we will get to some discussion.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Donahue, the city administrator, and I'm Jenny Reed and I, the budget director, just going to set some context, both about the process of making the budget and where the money sits right now. So if we go to this slide, this shows a 4-step process, and let me walk you through what that means. Our fiscal year is from October 1st to the end of September. It mimics the federal government's fiscal year. And we really start the budget formulation process at the beginning of the fiscal year, planning for the next fiscal year. So that starts in early October, and what we do is we try to identify how much does it cost to continue what we're doing now, adding nothing, taking nothing away. So we understand what it costs for continuity of operations. So we factor in if we think there's going to be inflation, changes to revenue, and we understand whether we have a surplus going into budget formulation or we have a deficit that we have to address. As an important part of that, the CFO, that's independent of the mayor, identifies how much revenue we have to balance against. They will do that literally tomorrow. They'll release the final revenue estimate that we have to balance against. So as we look at that, we ask each agency to come up with what it thinks it can do, what it needs to be able to do their work better, what they would do if they had to cut. And it really all leads up to what will happen tomorrow, which is that we understand from the CFO how much revenue we'll have next year. Then we have about 2 weeks to be able to show a balanced budget and submit it to the council. The council then has the baton around March 20th. And then between March 20th and generally late May, they have oversight hearings and they do their own changes to the budget. They ultimately vote on it in late May, and it goes to the Congress, and we move into what we call the execution and accountability, which is the implementation of the budget. But the next 2-week stretch is really vital for us in getting feedback, because tomorrow we'll know how much money the CFO will forecast that we'll have next year. And so we have to make adjustments and bring the mayor choices about how to make the best for the funding that we have. If you go to the next slide, you'll see how the money is allocated right now. And I'm going to kind of start from, if this were a clock, like I suppose like the 4 o'clock hour moving counterclockwise from where we have the largest amount of money. So right now we have a budget including all sources of about just under $20 billion. About $6 billion of that, or about a third, is in health and human services. This includes Medicaid, it includes homeless services, behavioral health supports. It's the largest share of our budget. Going up to that, the second largest is something called enterprise financing and other. I like to think of this as the part of the budget that you really can't touch. It comes from this as paying interest on our debt, legal obligations that we have. So it's the second largest part of the budget, and one that really is one that we don't have a lot of discretion over making adjustments to. Continuing up, the next largest portion of the budget is education, which is at $4 billion, or 20% of our budget. Then going down to the bottom left is the next largest, which if you see here is public works and government operations. This actually contains probably 24 agencies that range from everything from transportation, trash collection, the environment, making sure we hire people, procure services. So it includes a lot of traditionally municipal functions in what we call government operations. That's about 13%. Public safety is $1.7 billion. The two largest parts of that are police and fire. It also includes our OUC for the 911 call center, support we provide for victims of violent crime, as well as making sure we're prepared for disasters. And finally, you see 2.8% in economic development and regulation. This is everything from housing to the incentives that we put in place to attract and retain businesses in the city. And that's the allocation. When we do that continuity of operation, we always start with what we have this year, we move it forward, and then we make adjustments to it. But that is a general reflection of what we have this year, and adjustments that we make come from this base budget. Going to the next slide, I'll very briefly talk about just a few of the items that are on this slide that highlight some of the investments that we have this year. So in education, we've added $341 million to schools this year alone. That's not on this slide, but it's the largest single increase we have done to any city agency is what we did for DCPS and the charter school sector. We also have set aside $2 billion for improving the overall condition of schools. For economic opportunity, we've set aside a fund that allows for the conversion of offices into housing and gives incentives to do that. For affordable housing, we continue to have record investments in both the Housing Production Trust Fund, as well as putting record investments in improving the quality of our housing authority properties. In healthcare, we have a program to pay down medical debt, where we really are able to spend just under $1 million and leverage that to pay down $90 million in medical debt, so folks who choose to practice medicine here are able to be relieved of some of their student loans. In public safety, we have a civilianization effort to make sure cops are doing police work and civilians do work that which does not have to be done by police officers. And in transportation, we have a significant investment to redesign and improve what we consider to be, and we know to be, our high crash corridors throughout all 8 wards of the city. So that's a reflection of just some of the investments we have this year. Director Reed is going to go into some of the things that we're doing for seniors in particular.
Thank you, City Administrator, and good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be able to present to you some of the key investments that the Mayor has made over the last year to provide increased services for our senior adults. So first, in the area of health and wellness, especially during the pandemic, we knew it was important to make sure our seniors could stay connected. So we have distributed more than 1,000 tablets to seniors across all 8 wards to help make sure you can keep your medical appointments, stay connected with friends and families, and do whatever you need to do to stay connected to the community. We've also been investing for at least 3 years, $550,000 annually to provide free dental services for seniors. We know that the health care coverage that many seniors have does not cover enough on the dental care side, and so this helps buy down that really expensive cost. For persons who are aging in their home, Mayor Bowser created the Safe at Home program. Safe at Home, many of you might be familiar with this. It's run by the Department of Aging and Community Living, and they make modifications to your home that allows you to age in place so that your home is still safe and that you can still live there. We also increased the personal needs allowance for those residents who are living with disabilities, and importantly provided funding to allow support for people who are living with those who have Alzheimer's or related dementias, and provide that needed support for their caregivers. A lot of our grandfamilies across the city are stepping up in big ways to help take care of kids whose parents might not otherwise be available. So the Mayor's invested more than $6 million to provide monthly cash assistance to those families who are taking over the important duty of raising the children so that they don't go into foster care. The Mayor has also invested in affordable housing developments specifically for those families to help ease the burden of their housing costs as well. Jumping to the next slide, we know our senior centers are very important places in the community. The mayor has invested nearly $3 million to expand programming and activities across the district, including lunches, exercise equipment, computer labs, and socializing. Also not on this slide, but very important, I know Director Freeman is very excited about the new modernized therapeutic recreation center that will be opening soon in Ward 7. The mayor has also invested more than $5 million in food programs. We know that seniors often face some of the highest levels of food insecurity, and so the mayor has invested in programs to help meet seniors wherever they are, whether they're home, in the community, need some help preparing their meals, you name it. We have a variety of food programs to help our seniors. And then lastly, for safer streets and transportation, the city administrator already mentioned, but nearly $200 million to redesign our dangerous roadways and improve traffic safety, to deploy calming measures so people can walk around safely. And then I know a very popular program run by the Department of Aging and Community Living, our Connector Card program that helps provide discounted transportation for our older adults. I am now going to jump and talk a little bit about the context of the budget development and a few more facts about sort of where we are. So if we jump to the next slide, the mayor had mentioned in her opening remarks that our economy has somewhat changed. It's shifted as a result of the pandemic, and so we need to adjust how we move forward. Unfortunately, we are seeing a situation where our revenues are growing much more slowly than they have in the past. This is largely due to the telework changes and the lack of people coming into the office. But our expenses aren't slowing down. In fact, they're growing faster than they have before. So while we're expecting our revenues to grow at about $50 million a year, we're expecting our expenditures to grow at closer to $900 million a year. That's being driven by a couple big things. First, WMATA. I'm sure many of you have read about the fact that WMATA has its own fiscal cliff. The mayor recently pledged $200 million to WMATA to help avoid serious service cuts to Metro Rail, Metro Bus, and Metro Access. She also provided funding so that we can avoid significant fare increases. The second is what the city administrator talked about and the mayor spoke about. Schools are incredibly important for the future of the city. So $341 million was invested to ensure that we have more funding to support our students across the city. And then lastly, as I'm sure is true for you, everything is more expensive. Electricity is more expensive, food's more expensive, construction costs are more expensive. So we really have to take a look at what we're doing and how we're doing it to be most effective and efficient as possible with fewer resources. And I'm going to turn it to the city administrator to talk about some of our guiding values as we make those decisions.
So to make what Director Reed said very practical, before we do anything new, we have to find out ways to be able to bridge a $900 million gap in 1 year. Once we do that, we can start to do new things. And we have to show the CFO and our Congress that we balance our budget for the next 4 years. So whatever we do has to be sustainable, not a one-time fix that we can't sustain the following year. So there are some guiding principles of being able to, what we keep in mind as we look at different programs. First is recognizing that there's a basic expectation of social contract that people expect their local government and state government to provide, and we are both. Fire trucks need to deploy and respond to fires. We need to pick trash up. We have obligations to be able to make sure we can hire people, pay them, and contract for core services. We have facilities that must be maintained, and we have expenses that are obligations. So that's the first item, is just make sure we maintain those core services that are foundation of any government. The second one is making sure we are mindful of investments that improve the quality of life and really have life consequences in terms of the safety and lives of DC residents, businesses, and visitors. Third, we recognize what the mayor calls the foundations of the city's recovery, which is a strong education system, a strong public safety system, and a vibrant downtown. Fourth, the city has developed a number of well-intentioned, sometimes very good programs over the past 4 years, often with federal money, that are meant to improve equity. And we want to make sure we are mindful and look at whether there's a track record with data to be able to demonstrate the impact of the intention of a program translating into what it's really doing to improve people's lives. And finally, we want to make sure whatever we do is setting ourselves up to have a sustainable future. We don't want to make choices that we have to revisit and adjust next year, in 2 years, or in 4 years. So we want to be able to make sure, and long term, our revenues are aligned with our spending, so the city's on a more stable plane. So there's some 5 principles that we look at when we look at how we bridge the $900 million gap that we have, and how we do new things with funding that we're able to unlock.
So I want to thank you both for that budget presentation. And now I want to turn to Teron Hines from DACL for some remarks, and then we'll turn to you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Bowser. So we have officially started Mayor Bowser's FY'25 Senior Budget Engagement Forum, as well as the Budget Engagement Series. Today, as I reflected, it reminds me of the special significance of this event. This marks the first public gathering I attended as the then acting director of the Department of Aging and Community Living. Just a year ago, I was over with many of you in Ward 7 at our Washington Wellness Center. So let's give it up for their 1-year anniversary together. I am truly grateful for the opportunity to connect with you and hear directly from our city's oldest residents about how we can better serve your needs. I want to first again express my gratitude to Mayor Bowser for her exceptional leadership and unwavering commitment to prioritizing our district seniors. All of you here, all of you at our watch parties across all 8 wards in DC. So give it up for yourselves. This day is not possible without, and the mayor referenced this earlier, just all of the public servants across DC government that makes this event possible. So, of course, I want to acknowledge the incredible staff at DACL, our Commission on Aging, our Senior Service Network, all of you for being here today. And for Councilmember Bonds, whose staff is here, she's the committee chair that DACL reports into. All of us collectively on the executive and legislative side are here for you. I also want to acknowledge Team DCOS to my left under the leadership of Director Steve Walker, one of my partners in directoring, Jackie Reyes from the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, affectionately known as MOCA. And a huge thank you to Director William Ritchie and all of the staff and seniors here at Congress Heights Senior Wellness Center. As you've seen from the presentation, the mayor continues to prioritize the needs of our seniors. At DACL, we follow the legislation of the Older Americans Act, and top of that list is nutrition and transportation. So I know you all know about our community dining sites, the Connector Card program, Safe at Home program. But what I need you to know, and this was, laid on my heart today, when we have tight financial times, we're not supposed to get weary. And so this morning, I listened to Hezekiah Walker's I Need You to Survive. And so I'm going to close with this and think about, also I want to give a shout out to my daddy who's watching in Ward 6 and to my grandmother who's watching in Ward 8. And so the lyrics to that song are very important. I want you to understand how I each and every day start the day with DACL and staff. And I remind them that without you, there is no us. And so we think about needing you to survive. I need you. You need me. We're all a part of DACL's family. Stand with me. Agree with me. We are all a part of DACL's family. It is DACL's will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. And that's what we do with Mayor Bowser's investments for seniors. Thank you for being here today. Keep holding us accountable because we do that every day. Because you know what? All of us up here are approaching DACL age. Some of us a little sooner than others, but we want to be like you, and we know it takes the investments of our city collectively on the executive and legislative side to make it happen. D. Cos Walker.
Thank you, Sharon. And I think I speak for all of us in hoping that the director keeps her day job. No, but we all are a part of DACO's family, in all seriousness, Sharon. And thank you for that. And we all want to be able to age in place in a city that loves us. So, Steve, let's take it away.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And now the exciting part. We want to hear from all of you who are joining us online, watching on Channel 16 or on the phone line. So I'm going to repeat the phone for those of you watching us. 844-881-1314 and press 0 and you'll be brought to the queue. We're going to take a couple of questions from the phone line and we'll also take questions from those of you in the room. Our first question comes from Jocelyn, Ward 7. Jocelyn?
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jocelyn Peters Martin. I live in Ward 7. And I am a senior, but my concern is I'm under the community for Office on Aging, and my concern is I belong to the GT Independent program, which I'm trying to remain independent in my apartment. But the problem is I have aides that come in, but the pay that they're giving them, and they have to be qualified, $17.90. Nobody want to work for that. So I'm trying to see if they can get a little increase.
Okay. Thank you for that question, Jocelyn. CA, will you answer?
Thank you for raising it. It's a really critical, important question that individuals who come and provide such core services don't often get paid commensurate with the value they're providing. So we did invest actually in the mayor's last budget to supplement the wages of those who are doing home health care aid to be able to have them paid above what just the market rate would allow for. And then to be able to do that in a way that we're able to sustain some of it with some additional Medicaid funding. So we are supplementing it, we're increasing the wages. We're very, very mindful of wanting to make sure that we're a place where individuals who can choose to do that work in different places choose DC.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Jocelyn, for raising that. And we're always, we had a lot of advocacy last year around raising the wage for a lot of our support workers. And while we didn't get all the way to where we like to be, we're seeing some incremental change in raising those wages. So thanks for raising it again, and I'll keep it on my agenda.
Thank you much for that question. Our next question comes from Miss Renee Lester in Ward 5.
Good morning, Mayor Bowser. Let me start off by saying that I think you and your team are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And I do love this city coming from West Virginia. The question that I have is that I do try to help as many of the senior citizens in my community because in my head I am a senior citizen advocate. Most of them are concerned about food stamps. For instance, my Social Security check is $2,400 a month. My mortgage is $1,550 a month. So that leaves me, $800 to eat, to pay my utilities, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of the citizens that I speak to, they're concerned about, is it possible for a separate budget to be set aside for senior citizens to be eligible for more than $25 a month because they happen to make over $2,000 a month on their Social Security?
Well, thank you for that question. And we've been very focused on nutrition, as you've heard, especially during the pandemic. We did receive quite a lot of federal funding during the pandemic related to food insecurity, and we've deployed it around the city. DACL itself has a number of programs that are helpful, and I'm going to ask Director Hines to talk about that. And there's great demand for all of those programs. So part of our deliberations during this budget process is to talk about how we can best invest our food dollars and how we can best maximize federal investments in the city. And we've been talking a lot about that in the last months with regard to the SNAP program, with regard to summer food programs for kids. And I'm glad that we're today talking about what our seniors need. Director Hines.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser, and thank you to the caller from Ward 5. Department of Aging and Community Living has a variety of nutrition programs, but one that I want to highlight the most that may be a great fit for you, community dining sites. Across all 8 wards of the city, you can find a community dining site. There are over 40 across all of our 8 wards. And for our seniors, our DACL age limit or entry age is age 60 and above. You can walk into any of our community dining sites and get a hot, delicious lunch Monday through Friday during the hours of 11 to 1. So here today, for example, we're in person at Congress Heights Senior Wellness Center. We're actually in the multi-purpose room that serves as the community dining site, but you are able to get that information by also calling us at DACL. Our number is 202-724-5626. Give us a call. Staff is at work today in person, and we'll pick up that phone and direct you to your closest community dining site, in addition to talk to you about other nutrition programs that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for everybody who's watching online and listening on the phone. I'll give the number again, 844-881-1314. Press 0 to be brought into the queue. And we know we've got so many people in the room with us, we're going to have Director Reyes get to you if you've got a question as well. We also are really excited that today DACL has a number of sites with watch parties, and they're sending questions, Mayor, so I'll give you one of the questions that came in.
Okay.
From the Hattie Holmes Senior Wellness Center, and has a question about climate change. Mm-hmm. And the question is, how can you explain your priority for climate change? Because she, like many seniors, are worried about their families. And so what priorities are climate change?
Well, thank you for that question. And it's a great question that ties into both what we're doing for, the epidemic of global warming and climate change, but also what we're doing to help people save money and to stay in their homes. So you probably know we have one of the most aggressive climate change statutes anywhere in the country, where we've been focused on implementing solar, implementing wind power in DC government buildings, helping multifamily buildings install solar as well. And we're also very focused on our built environment, and a lot of our climate goals are related to how we can reduce and create more net zero buildings. We just opened a net zero building in Ward 2, which is, what is the name of that rec center that Stead Recreation Center, that is a model. And we add that to Banneker Academic High School, which is also a net zero building. And we're also very focused now on the private sector and how they are building and retrofitting their buildings to reduce their carbon footprint. So having said all of that, there are also some budget pressures related to how we get that work done. Even on our DC government buildings, to create these net zero buildings. They've been budgeted for one form of construction, and to make it now to change the requirements will also cost the government more money. So we are committed to getting that work done, and we're committed to getting it done as fast as we can, given the level of investments that we can make. One thing I want to highlight that's new that we're doing is our pilot food waste program. Is anybody aware of that? Okay, I want you, when DPW opens up for more entries, I want you to sign up, because what it is allowing us to compost, I want to say recycle, but I guess it is recycling our food waste by separating it from the regular trash, and then there is a separate pickup for that food waste. And we think over time that is going to allow us to really be a greener city. And we are also focused on how we're planting more trees. And there are parts of our city, and sometimes, you know, I've been through every tree war that there is in Washington, I think, over the years. And we have committed to replacing trees in wards and neighborhoods where there are fewer trees, to planting more. And it has a huge impact on both health and a huge impact on how cool area is and utility cost. And it also has a lot to do with the economic development in that area. Areas that are greener and have more trees also attract the types of other amenities that people want. So our environmental goals run the gamut. They are aggressive in the world. I have represented us on forums. I just got back from what they call the COP28 that was in the Middle East, talking about what cities can do to help nations meet their climate goals. So we're very committed.
Thank you. We're going to take another phone call, and while we do that, remember the line is 844-881-1314 and press 0. We're going to go to Jerry Boyce in Ward 2.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning. My concern is about seniors getting a license, renewing their license. And you got to go through a whole lot, hard tests and all that. And I want to know exactly, what can be done about that, the tests and all that.
Let me make sure I understood your questions. It's about seniors renewing their licenses? I think his question was about seniors renewing their driver's licenses and what the requirements are. And we do have some requirements at a certain age. I think age 70 maybe. Somebody remind me. I think it's age 70 where there is additional test required. And at a certain age, I think there's also a referral from your physician required. And I think that we're all very focused on making sure people can be as independent as possible, as long as possible. And this is a check. And we're all going to have to kind of live through that check if we want access to our vehicles. And our job in the government is to make sure it's as easy as possible. And so we will continue to work with the DMV on those issues. But I think we've been with this requirement for a number of years, probably more than 10 years, and we have refined it over the years. And we will, if there are specific suggestions, I'm all ears and will be willing to look into them.
Okay, thank you. Again, 844-881-1314, press 0, and you'll be loaded into the queue. We're going to take a call from Miss Angela in Ward 4.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having this forum and allowing the citizens to speak. I do believe DC is doing an excellent job in taking care of seniors. My question is, will you continue to make it a priority to fund programs that help to keep seniors in their home? My mom is 94, I'm 72. I'm trying to help keep her in her home, but I also own a home in Ward 4, and so it's back and forth. But it's really helped me with my dad before he passed away, and my mom, programs like the Caregiver Institute and Home Care Partners. So I really appreciate them, and I want to know, will you continue to make it a priority to fund them?
Well, thank you for that endorsement of those programs. And we intend to fund programs that are working for our residents. And the testimony that you just gave is one that I repeat, because what we have found over the years is that the best senior housing is the senior housing that you're in, if it's safe and if it's affordable. And so the programs that we have put in place have been meant to make sure that it's safe and affordable, and that, you know, we all we're having to make decisions about housing for seniors. I know that I am. For my parents are making decisions about their own housing, and they want to be able to stay in their own home, period, point blank. And as long as we can support them, we want that for them too. We know that caregiving is among the hardest jobs, uncompensated jobs in the city. And we're grateful to families that can help their loved ones stay in their homes. But we want to be there to support them as well. So we'll look into the specific programs that you just mentioned, and we're always thinking of others as well.
Great, thank you. Again, 844-881-1314 and press 0 and we'll load you into the queue. Mayor, we have another question from someone watching at Hattie Homes. Ms. White asked, could you share with seniors who may not be aware what you're doing to help bring seniors and others downtown and raising more revenues?
Oh, well, thank you for that question. And every director is, and every citizen and everybody who comes to meet with me in my office, I ask them the same question. What role will you play in our comeback, in the comeback of the downtown? And everybody has a role to play. And I think for a lot of seniors, just taking advantage of the wonderful amenities in our city is a great way for you to be supportive. And I say that to our DACL staff. I say that to your church groups. I say that to your card playing groups. Any social organization that you belong to is taking advantage of our theaters and restaurants and shopping is a great way to be supportive of the downtown. And there are a lot of opportunities for you to do that.
Great, thank you. We want to remind everyone to continue sharing your budget priorities at budget.dc.gov. I understand we've got a question in the room from Ms. King.
All right, Ms. King.
Yes, actually, Teresa King Smith. First, I would like to say, Mayor Bowser, I thank you for appointing Director Hines because she was very available for us during the budget hearing, and then she did come back and ask questions of what we stated in the room.
Okay.
So I failed to give you a grade for your first year. I did give your entities a grade, but I give you an A- so that you can go even further.
I love it. I love it. Good job.
Now my
Ms. Hines.
question. We have a problem with transportation in the centers. At one time, we had a bus or vehicle that would transport our seniors from home to the center because some of them are unable to drive and some of them need to use lifts. Sometimes when we have the buses, we do not have a lift. And as Director Hines remembers, we had to scurry away from the Wilson building because we would have been left due to budget constraints. Is there any way that we can improve the transportation in the centers to activities without worry about budget constraints?
I got it. Sharon, would you?
And I
kinda-
have these for you too.
Thank
for other
you.
information.
I'm going to ask Director Hines to remind me of what we're offering at the centers in terms of transportation.
Yes, so through DACL grant funding, we do provide transportation funds to our senior wellness centers. And so it comes in a variety of ways. So sometimes there are field trips that our seniors take. And so oftentimes the senior wellness centers will use that funding when you travel down to the Wilson building to testify, participate in our different hearings in front of the Council of the District of Columbia. And so just so you know, and I've talked to several groups of seniors via advisory boards and councils at our senior wellness centers about DACL increasing our partnerships. One of those conversations have been with, for example, the downtown bid, who the executive director is Jaron Price. And what we've talked about, and this kind of goes back to the last caller talking about downtown revenue, but looking at other ways we can partner with organizations and entities so that seniors are able to get around town, so to speak. A lot changes in DC, as we all know. As a third generation Washingtonian about to hit 51 years of living, I can now look back along the 8th Street corridor that I grew up on to see what used to be, what is now, and now I get to tell those stories to my younger family members. And so I've been working with the Senior Wellness Center directors. We have frequent conversations just around how we can kind of collaborate and streamline this transportation piece a little better. So it is still on my radar, and thank you for bringing it back up to me today, Ms. Teresa King.
Thank you very much. Again, 844-881-1314, press 0, and we'll pull you into the queue. Our next question comes from Mrs. Ernestine Green in Ward 4.
Yes, I'm a resident of Ward 4. I was a resident of Ward 5. I've been a resident of D.C. since 1960, and I had an accident in front of my house with sidewalks being cracked up, and I fractured my hip. And I've been calling for the last 4 years for them to fix it. They haven't fixed it yet. Do I need to fall again and still not be fixed? The other thing is that a caregiver. I was just been released from the hospital after a month, and the aids that I was getting from home partners, they say they don't be compensated if one of their clients go to the hospital. I was in there for a month and 3 days and just came home last week. So I want to know, how can we get a caregiver? I've read up caregivers can be family members, but if they don't have a job and don't get the leave for that, what do we do to get help or a caregiver who can help us out?
Okay, John, you want to talk about our caregiving program?
Yes, so thank you for that question. DACL partners with Home Care Partners. They are our grantee that provides caregivers for our eligible seniors. And so if you would give me a call at DACL just so we can talk a little further about your concerns, I would really appreciate that. 202-724-5626. Now, this is just for the caller, but I know everybody else will do it. But please, when you call, let my IR&A team know that this is in follow-up to today's budget engagement forum and that you need to connect directly to me. Thank you.
And Director Hines, if you could also have the team work on the DDOT issue.
Will do.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Our next question comes from, Miss Wendy in Ward 6. Miss Wendy, you're there?
Hello. Yes, I'm here, but my name is Juanita.
Sorry, my apologies.
That's perfectly all right. That's perfectly all right. Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
morning. Good
Yes,
morning.
ma'am. What's your
Thank you
question,
for taking
Juanita?
my question.
Yes, ma'am. Juanita,
Thank you for taking my question.
please proceed, Juanita.
Hello.
We're here.
Okay, great, because I'm getting the feedback. That's why I just said that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm actually representing Produce Plus. Very briefly, Produce Plus is a program that provides fresh fruit and vegetables from local farmers during the growing season here in Washington, D.C. at the open-air farmers markets that pop up during the summer. And although it's a D.C. program, many of our people who participate in the program are seniors. But last year we had 11,000 people that applied, but we also had a wait list of 4,000 at the end of the season that we could not serve because we did not have the funds. My question to you is basically, can we expect a substantial increase in that program for 2025 so that first of all, we will be able to serve everyone who apply, and especially seniors, mostly from wards 5, 7, and 8.
Okay, I'm going to ask Jenny to respond.
Thank you for that question. I think you're referring to our Produce Plus program, which is run out of DC Health, and it's one of a variety of food and nutrition programs that the mayor has invested in over the last several years to really help provide increased food access, as I said, sort of where you need it. So some of this is providing fresh groceries, some is providing fresh meals. My team actually is taking a comprehensive look with Director Hines at the 35 plus food assistance programs that we have here in the district, and finding ways that we can make it easier for seniors as well as other residents to get the access that they need in sort of one stop, right? Rather than you having to cobble together multiple programs in order to meet your needs, how can we streamline this and how can we provide a more robust set of services? So we are absolutely working on this and looking at it. I'll follow up with the Department of Health to talk about the wait list that you mentioned, but that is top of our mind.
Thank you, Ms. Juanita.
Thank you. And Mayor, another question, this one from St. Albans, and the question is about Secure DC. Can you please tell us about Secure DC and why seniors should be involved?
I sure can. I do not have my cheat sheet on Secure DC, so I'm going to ask the Deputy Mayor Apia to join us at the table to talk about the provisions to Secure DC, and as she comes up, I am going to get started. It is an omnibus bill that was crafted by the Ward 2 council member who chairs the committee on the judiciary for the council. It includes two of our pieces that we introduced over the summer called Safer, Stronger 2.0 and Act Now. The purpose of all of the bills and the omnibus together is to make sure that we have an appropriate system of accountability. It addresses emerging crime trends. It is also helping to shore up our police department by making sure we have some common sense reforms to police discipline. So with that, I'll turn to Deputy Mayor Apia to say a bit more about Secure DC.
Sure. So there's a lot in Secure DC, and we want to make sure everyone from our youngest residents to some of our more seasoned are cared for. And so some of the provisions in there that would be important to you are when people commit crimes against seniors, we've created an enhancement for that because we just don't want people who are vulnerable or to be taken advantage of or harmed. There's also provisions for when people commit crimes in transit. We know that many of you may use public transportation. There are enhancements for that because we want to have safe spaces at our rec centers, our senior centers, our transit, all of the places that our residents use to go to and from and to enjoy life in the city. We also know that one of the things is we talk about being safer at home, but there's too many sounds of gunshots. It's something that the mayor talks a lot about, that there's too much shooting all the way around. So there's a lot in the bill addressing gun crimes, but also when people just are shooting, because we want people to be able to feel safe. And so there's provisions around that. Also, you all and all of us have seen way too many people now not shoplifting, but clearing shelves at our CVS's, our grocery stores, our retail. And so there's provisions around really addressing organized retail theft, right? Like we want for you all to have available all of the stores and grocery stores and things that you need, but it harms all of us when we allow that to continue. We also know there's provisions around drug-free zones, right? We hear from everywhere across the city that about loitering and about people taking over areas. We believe that neighborhoods belong to the neighbors. And so there's provisions that will allow MPD and the chief to really break up some of the drug activity that we see so that neighbors can reclaim their neighborhoods, right? That's happening too much in the city. So, and then the last one that I'll talk about is about masks. We see, far too many young people and others running around in ski masks in the summer. Listen, we have to be, this is what we talk a lot about is common sense. we all have enough common sense, have lived enough life that there may be an issue going on there. This is not about us wearing, COVID masks or surgical masks to keep ourselves safe and healthy. This is about those who are using our changed behavior when we all started wearing masks to use it to take advantage and to scare people, intimidate, or to commit crimes. And so we want to give MPD tools to really address that so we can prevent crime. So there's a lot. That's just some of the provisions in there. What we really tried to do is address what we're seeing, right? Because we're very invested in making sure that we're able to have a safe and a strong city where everyone's able to thrive and flourish.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yes. There's a question in the room. Can we get a microphone? One
Pedro.
second, ma'am.
My name is Bridget Bryan, and I wanted to know what is being done about the young people, the teenagers that are committing crimes. I feel that these teenagers should be treated as adults. When they get punished, they should be treated as adults, and that these crimes would stop.
Thank you for that question, ma'am. And it's a question that we hear throughout the city, and it especially relates to a spike in crime that we saw last year related to carjacking and robbery, and quite a number of the suspected carjackers are juveniles. And so it has our complete attention. And we're working with our partners who are responsible for prosecuting those crimes. That is our Attorney General for the district, and in some cases, it's also the United States Attorney who can prosecute juveniles as adults. I'll leave you with one example where the U.S. Attorney did prosecute a number of juveniles as adults for carjackings. And we believe that they were responsible not just for the crime that they were, the specific crime that they were arrested for, but they were linked, I believe, to 8 other carjackings. So we know that there is probably a small number of people that are committing this violence, and they have to be held accountable for those crimes. So some changes we know need to be made in the law so that young people who are using guns and terrorizing our cities don't qualify for diversion programs. That means they have to go to see the judge. They have to have a consequence. And then they have to have services that stay out of those that keep them out of those situations. We're also focused on any changes that we need to make in our truancy system, which we think could be better because a number of the kids who are committing these crimes are disengaged from school, truant from school. And a number of the kids, and we haven't crafted this solution yet, but we want to work with all of our partners on it. A lot of families are asking for help with unruly kids. And right now, we don't have a way to require them to be in services until they are in the justice system. So we really need a way to require young people and families. In some cases, it would mean they are outside of their home, and they are required to participate in programs and services. And so there is a lot of debate around, I introduced this idea, and people said, well, you want to lock kids up? No, I don't. But I do want to keep them from getting themselves in a lot of trouble or getting themselves killed. So we will continue to work on all of those items. Some of them will require legislation, some of them require us and the government to do things differently, and some will require prosecutors at the federal and local level to do things differently.
Great, thank you. Our final question from the call line will come from Ms. Barbara White.
Okay, Ms. White?
Yes, yes, yes. Good afternoon, Mayor Bowser.
Good afternoon.
Barbara Allen White, Ward 4, that's the best. You were my neighbor years ago. I want to thank you so much for all that you're doing, for all that you have done. For people that need to know about the beautiful things in Washington, D.C., call AGING, which is 202-724-5626. There are two beautiful people there that will help you. That's Ms. Hilder and Ms. China. They're A+. They will register you, tell you about all the programs in D.C. If they need to mail you something, they will. Thank you about the food waste program that you're going to start, which will be a blessing, separating your food or your garbage from your regular trash. Number 2, thank you for the Apple iPad for seniors. Don't be scared. They'll teach you how to use it. It's beautiful. Number 2, thank you for my Walmart on Riggs Road Northeast walking distance. Thank you for my Costco's Northeast DC. And then seniors should get in whatever ward they want to go to the rec centers. These are no more than your tax dollars.
Amen.
I am blessed. I take water aerobics 3 days a week at Turkey Thicket. We have a beautiful instructor, Mr. Walter. Through God, I was diabetic. 9 months ago, God took me off.
Oh, thank you. That was amazing.
I think she was going to say she went to go swimming 3 days a week and now she's off medicine. I think that's what it sounded like she was going to say. That's what it sounded like. Wow. And I like the way she put it. Those are your tax dollars at work, and you should take advantage of them. And all of the things that she just mentioned are indeed tax dollars at work, including those economic development opportunities. I lived in Riggs Park for 16 years. I grew up in North Michigan Park. And the ability to be able to walk to a new recreation center that they have in Riggs Park now, new playgrounds on the school, new field for the kids, but more than anything, new housing, shopping, dining, and food that are now walking distance. So it's a beautiful neighborhood, and I am glad that Ms. White is taking advantage of her tax dollars at work. Amen. Okay, I think we have time for a few more. Why don't we go to the room? Okay, and let's follow the microphone there. Okay.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Carolyn Woodland, and I'm from Ward 7. My question is, well, my problem is, it's a tree outside on the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. It grows so wide that my neighbor across the street, she was 79 years old. In August, she got carjacked. And they pulled her out on the street. Right now, she's suffering from a fractured back. And I called afterwards requesting that the tree be cut back because they never prune it back. They told me it takes 180 days. So 180 days is now, and it's wintertime. It's no leaves on the tree now. But when the police came, I have a ringer. I couldn't even get the information from my ringer because the leaves were so wide because they won't prune it back. My question is, what can I do to get this tree pruned back? I've been trying for over 2 years.
Okay, we're going to take your address and make sure we take it right here to the gentleman standing next to you, and we'll get to work on that. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. We have a question here in the front.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, everyone. You gonna hold it? Oh. My name is Vanessa Farmer. I'm also the queen here at Congress Heights Senior Wellness Center. And I have been a resident all my life of DC. It's the best city ever.
Thank you.
So is Congress Heights Senior Wellness Center and Mr. Ritchie and his staff. Well, when you were talking about the kids and what we can do, I thought about truancy. What happened to the truant officers?
We have them.
Okay, because is it just too many kids?
Well, the police deploy throughout the day to find kids that should be in school and take them back to school.
Okay. Well, I also have a concern here at Congress Heights Senior Wellness Center. You know for sure, because you take care of your parents, how important it is for the nutrition of what they eat. So here, we get meals. I mean, thank you so much. We get a meal. Thank you. But we also want to know why so many carbs on a plate when you're supposed to be getting a balanced meal.
Okay.
We want to know that. And then we also want to know about the security of seniors, because in the front door has been broken for about 2 years. We need to address that immediately because we want to make sure our seniors are always safe.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's the cracks in the wall. They were painting here yesterday, but I said painting doesn't address the fact that the cracks are in the wall. So those are just things that we wish the city will address.
Okay.
And put them like a priority for us.
I got it.
Okay.
Well, we especially want that. I got to see that, and maybe Director Hines can tell us about the new area in the center, but we're always focused on maintenance. We've invested billions of dollars in the city on our facilities, and maintaining them is always a top priority as well. Perhaps the city administrator can tell us how DGS is approaching maintenance of our public facilities.
Sure. So our Department of General Services maintains our facilities. And an area that the mayor has invested much more in is what we call small capital work. In other words, it's more than just a half-day repair. It's less than having to rebuild a whole building. It includes fixing exterior doors, fixing the locks. If the crack you mentioned has an underlying cause, making sure we address that. So probably the top priority for this upcoming budget is making sure that DGS is adequately funded to be able to address these small capital projects that are, again, more than just putting paint on the wall, and that within that, they have a clear prioritization that starts with what are considered issues of safety that include functioning cameras, functioning lighting. At the top of that list is door repair and the locks working on the doors, and having enough that if it breaks, you don't have to wait a long time for it to get repaired. So even in a tough budget environment, that particular issue you raised really is our highest priority that we're focused on for DGS.
Okay.
And we'll provide the feedback to you.
Right. And I want to give just another note on the city administrator's point, because sometimes in tougher budget years, after I send a very robust budget to the council, sometimes little pieces get, just cut away. And it could be for a good reason. So that's the council's job, and they're right to amend budgets. But here's the problem: when you slice a little bit here and a little bit there at DGS, that plan that the city administrator just mentioned doesn't happen. And so you know what happens in your own home or your car. If you put off maintenance, when you get to it the next time, it costs more. And you've already had to suffer through inadequate experience, and then it costs more. So it's important as we look at this budget that the maintenance items don't get shortchanged.
Mayor Bowser, if I could just respond to our queen here, Vanessa Farmer, regarding menu feedback that you gave about too many carbs. So my nutrition team from DACL is on the line and listening, and we'll make sure that we follow up with our food vendor. Also, it's important to note, and I'm giving a shout out to Director Ritchie, making sure that we have our feedback. I think I see it from here, like our menu feedback box. So if you have some feedback or concerns about your meals here at the community dining sites or at any of the others, please make sure you drop that in. Or again, you can call us at 202-724-5626. But thank you for that feedback. We always take our senior feedback and concerns seriously and have a response.
Thank you. I think we can take 2 more from the room. I see somebody that is excited about the Commanders.
Yes, my name is Henry Calvin Still Jr. I'm one of the members of the Congress Heights Senior Wellness Center, and I enjoy the center a lot. And I'd like to say, Mayor Muriel Bowser, that you're a very good mayor, and you're doing a good job, a very good job. Thank you. If it's all right, I need a question. If it's all right with the security crew here, is it all right? I can get a picture with you. If it's all right with the security.
We're definitely going to get a picture. Yes, it's all right with them.
Okay.
And with me. Okay. Okay. And I see we've been joined by Councilmember Anita Bonds, so we're going to make Councilmember, I think, Deputy Mayor Pia. Deputy Mayor Pia is making a way for you. No, yes. And while you get settled, I'm going to take a question. And Councilmember, if you want to make any remarks before we close, we'll do that. So I'll take your question, let you get settled, and then we'll go to Councilmember Bonds. Yes.
Thank you. We'd like to thank you so much for coming to Congress Heights. This is a lovely place, and we have lovely seniors, and we also have a wonderful director who's very young, but he's smart.
Okay.
And and we have a lovely staff here. But I like to talk about. I ride Metro Access every day, and it's $40 a week, and it's getting a bit much. But I'm also involved with DACO with Senior Express, where I go to the doctor free. But I'd like to know if I could get into the Connector program as well as the Senior Express, so that I can get transportation free here every day. I've been coming here since 2006.
Okay.
I like to stay healthy and live in a nice environment. So I'd like to continue coming here. So not only me, other people have to ride the Metro Access too. Okay. It's okay, but we have so many problems with them as well. But I like to go free.
We like to get you out of Metro Access too.
I like to go to Rose's sometime with my money, instead of going to the
She wants you to come there too.
Yes, my name is Florestine Jones, and I live in this lovely Ward 8. And they say it's the hood, but we love the hood.
We love our hood.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you have a beautiful neighborhood, and I'm going to ask Jenny and Kevin to jump in here. But we developed the Senior Connector program as a way to provide more opportunity for people to have free or reduced rides. Because those Metro rides, we subsidize those rides. So you pay some, but we pay a lot more. The city does. And it's just not efficient. So that's why we created our own programs, and we've been building on them since. So Jenny will remind me of how we've grown that program.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So we do have a number of programs that offer transportation assistance across the city. The Connector Card program, which I believe we had about $1.5 million invested in to help seniors get discounted transportation across the city. We also have a program called Transport DC, which is run out of our Department of For-Hire Vehicles, and that helps provide low-cost trips to destinations across the city, and you can call the for-hire vehicle number, which I don't have, but we will get to you. As I mentioned before, my team is looking at all of these programs that we have, trying to support one goal and trying to streamline them and make them easier. Transportation's the other area. We have about 40 different transportation programs across the city that are designed to do a variety of different things. And what we're trying to do by working with our agencies is simplify that, make it easier for you to find out where you can get those programs and how you can get access to them. So more to come from us, and we'll follow up with you on Transport DC.
Okay, so with that, I want to go to your at-large council member, Anita Bonds, who also chairs the committee that provides oversight to the Department on Aging and Community Living. And she's also responsible for making the Office on Aging the Department of Aging and Community Living. Anita Bonds.
Okay. Well, I have to stand, Mayor, because
take the microphone.
I always stand to greet my friends, and these are very special friends. And I want to acknowledge you because a couple of times I've been here and you've done something special for me, and I'm just taking a personal moment to thank you. The few times that I got flowers and special greeting from you, and you are extraordinary, and I really appreciate it. Warms my heart. Appreciate it, appreciate it. I am happy that you are here with the mayor. I was a little worried about the weather and thinking that, I can tell you sometimes seniors do not like to move when it's raining. And so I was really worried, and I said, okay, but this is such an important occasion because, believe it or not, I know as one of you that when we speak, the government listens. Amen. The government listens. And so whatever you have said today, whether it's food, transportation, public safety, or jobs, I know that we are listening. What I'm trying to understand, though, is there was some discussion before I got here about food. Are we saying that we don't have enough places to purchase food? Are we saying that we want more variety when we come to the wellness center? What are we really saying about food? Because there are many groups that claim that they get food out to seniors and into the community. So I would like to hear from you about that at a later date. I'm not here to take over the day. I'm just here to be a part of what you're doing and to thank you again for being here and for caring and for continuing. And you are right, Miss Jones. Beautiful, beautiful Ward 8.
All right.
Thank
you, Anita. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to thank the entire team here at the Congress Heights Center's Director Terry. Richie. Where's Director Richie? Director Richie, let's give him a big round of applause. As someone said, kind of young, but very smart. I love it. I love that. And I'm sure very hardworking. So we have a in-person session tonight in Ward 5 at Brookland Middle School. I have a conversation with Generation Z, also over the phone, where we're going to hear directly from them about their budget priorities. Tomorrow, we hear from the CFO about what our estimate of revenue dollars coming in is, which is what our budget is based on. And then, a council member, on March the 20th, we turn it over to the council. And then the council will have its own set of budget hearings before they vote on a balanced budget at the end of June. And I will tell you, we will have a balanced budget, and we will work together very hard to implement it in the best ways for the residents of the district. Thank you all.